Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Tell Me About It TMAI. I am K and welcome to another episode. Yeah, as you can see, as you can listen, as you can hear, whatever it is, we are starting quite later than usual. We are starting at 6:35, which is so unusual of us due to oversleeping of mine. Anyway, Tell Me About It is a program where we talk about basically everything and nothing. You get to learn some of the weirdest things. You get to know of one or two things, things you never thought about, things you've thought about, things you've been curious about, things you've not been curious about, things you've had, things you've not had. Basically everything and nothing. So for today, we are going to be talking about EQ and IQ. But before that, you can reach us or you can get to us or you can contact us so many ways, but then you can first get through to us on our social media handles. That is radio.penygh.com. That is our website. Our Facebook, our Instagram, and then in fact all social media handles, even Discord, we are there. Ask PenyGh. All you need to do is just search for PenyGh, and then you would find us there. For mine personally, I think ACK Aqua on Facebook and ACK on Instagram, and then adequate1.com, and then like a whole lot. Anyway, yes. For today, if you are listening now, you are basically listening from either the website or where are you listening from? Let me know. We have so many platforms, so you can hear us everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. So today it's IQ and then EQ, where IQ stands for in the light just went bright all over here. Anyway, IQ stands for intelligence quotient, and then EQ is emotional quotient. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Anyway, so we are going to find the balance between both of them. We actually got some response from the listeners trying to give us their ideas about this particular topic, and then it seemed most of our listeners knew about the IQ more than the EQ, so it was like a very should I call it new? Anyway, yes. So one listener said that the IQ has to do with the general intelligence, that is the more of brains skills, and then the EQ is of emotions, obviously emotional intelligence, and how you manage your emotions, generally what situations, and then it grows with time and it can be learned. So according to this listener, the IQ is not learned, and then the EQ is learned. So that is one difference. But as to how to balance it, well, we'll talk more of that. So, let's delve right in with our article for today from Very Well Mind. Well, what's more important in determining life success? Is it being a book smart or street smart? And when we talk about being book smart, that as the IQ, being book smart, it has to do with your mind and then all that, and then street smart has to do with your emotions, how you're able to read social cues, and how you're able to use that to your own advantage. So this question gets as hard as most people debate, and then it is now like a controversial topic. What is more important? Which is more important? Anyway, proponents of so-called book smart minds suggest that IQ plays the most critical role in determining how well people fare in life. Those who advocate for the importance of what might be called the street smart would suggest that EQ is more important. So which is it? Personally, I feel like having both is important. That is what this whole thing is about, the balance between the IQ and it, because you can't have your if you are book smart and then you are not should I say you are not conscious, or you are not observant, or you are not aware of your surroundings, then what is the essence of being book smart if you are going to be literally disrespectful or annoying. We can all be annoying, but then being just extra to other people because you think you are book smart, you're like, nah. But then if you have a bit of both, well, anyway, everything has an advantage and disadvantage. So let's start with the whole thing. A professor whose name I shall jump. So in his book Emotional Intelligence, let me get the name right. So he was a psychologist, Daniel Goleman, and then he suggested that emotional quotient, which is the emotional intelligence, which is the EQ, might actually be more important than the IQ, and then that he has his reasons. And then some psychologists believe that the standard measure of the IQ are too narrow and do not encompass the full range of human intelligence. That is very true, because some may have a very high IQ, and then let me use it. Someone may have a very low IQ, but then the person does quite very well. So like, why does the person have a low IQ? But one thing I think we have to set on the record is in Ghana, IQ is not something championed on. In some parts of the world, on their terminal reports, on their reports in general, they have their IQs stated on it to know, and then there are tests being done usually yearly, whatever it is, to check their IQ. And then since it's a one-time thing, the IQ is usually done, I think, when you're going to school, and then you get to know your IQ. It doesn't really change because it's just telling you how your brain is, whether you're an average, you are low, you are, what kind of whatever it is. But then we do not really champion on that in our part of the world. So it will be understandable if someone doesn't even know what the IQ is all about. Maybe they do it now, but when I was in high school, when I was in school, I'm still in school. It isn't something that we really do talk about. Like, because of your IQ, you are this. Because of your IQ, you are that. No. So, yeah. The psychologist Howard Gardner, for example, suggested that intelligence is not simply a single general ability. Instead, he suggests that there are actually multiple intelligence and that people may have strength in a number of these areas, which I agree to. So, instead of focusing on a single general intelligence, usually referred to as the G factor, which is the quotient and whatever it is, some experts believe that the ability to understand and express emotions can play an equal, if not more important role in how people fare in life. Yes, if you are not able to control your emotions, if you are not able to decipher when to exert your anger and when not to exert your anger, it becomes very difficult for you as an individual to live properly in a society. Because if you are in a society where you are almost always angry, you are not managing your emotions well. So we deal with people, and then in dealing with people, your emotions may get affected. You may be happy, all sort of that. So basically, but is EQ really more important than IQ? Well, which would you prefer to have? Would you prefer to have a higher IQ and a lower EQ, or a higher EQ and a lower IQ? That question is for the gods. So what is the difference between IQ and EQ? How are IQ and EQ measured and tested? So the intelligence quotient, which is the IQ, is a number derived from a standardized intelligence test. And the original IQ test, scores were calculated by dividing the individual's mental age by their chronological age and then multiplying that number by 100. That is a so long mathematics. I'm not going to do that. So a child with a mental age of 15 and a chronological age of 10 would have an IQ of 150. Okay. Today's scores on most IQ tests are calculated by comparing the taker score to the average score of other people in the same age group. Okay, we hear you. So, a child with a mental age, so IQ represents abilities. Now we are talking about IQ. So, IQ represents abilities such as visual and spatial processing, the knowledge of the world, the fluid reasoning, the working memory, and then short-term memory, and then the quantitative reasoning. I think IQ would definitely be quantitative reasoning, and then EQ would be qualitative reasoning, because IQ has to do with facts and figures, like a fixed, should I say a deposit, a fixed number, something which is like, if your IQ is 150, is 150. If your IQ is 145, is 145. If your IQ is 130, is 130. But then if your EQ is 120 today, it can as well change another time to 150, depending on how well you mature emotionally. Yes. Anyway, that is my own assessment from it. Emotional intelligence refers to a person's ability to perceive, control, evaluate, and express emotions. So researchers such as John Mayer, I just remembered Jojo Moyes, sorry, and Peter Salovey, as well as writers like Daniel Goleman, I'm butchering people's name, have helped shine a light on emotional intelligence, making it a hot topic in areas ranging from business management to education. EQ is centered on abilities such as identifying emotions, evaluating how others feel, controlling one's own emotion, perceiving how others feel, using emotions to facilitate social communication. That is the whole thing, communication. And then relating to others. Yeah, I now get why researchers believe EQ is more important as compared to IQ. But then it's still debatable, you know. So since the 1990s, emotional intelligence has gone from a semi-obscure concept found in academic journals to a popularly recognized term. Now you can buy toys that claim to help boost emotional intelligence or enroll kids in social and emotional learning, SEL, interesting, programs designed to test emotional intelligence skills. In some schools in the United States, social and emotional learning is even a curriculum requirement. Is it a curriculum requirement in Ghana? Social and emotional learning. Is that the our older people? Or which could they be? Well, anyway, I don't think we have that. Do we? We basically learn it as part of the courses. It's not a main curriculum. It doesn't have a main curriculum on its own. It's just something learned as part. A teacher may talk about it maybe in one of your courses, but it's not something that you learn like you're learning. Yes. So which is more important? At one point in time, IQ was viewed as the primary determinant of success. Yes. And I think we still have that here, where people, if not people only, our parents believe that going to school and then getting the good grades and then passing your examination and coming out with flying colors is what determines your success. So if you should get a F or E or D, it means you're not successful. Still here, so you get down, you all go down, like, because of your grades and all that, because you think that your intelligence is a determination of how successful you would be in the future. I must admit, anyway, it's on and off. I'm obsessed with my grades though, so I who am I to say that? People with high IQs were assumed to be destined for a life of accomplishment and achievement. Yes. And researchers debated whether intelligence was the product of genes or the environment. Product of genes or the environment. What do you think? It could be both. If you are intelligent and you do not study, how would you build upon your intelligence? You may know, but then you still need to study. So basically, it's like a drama that I watched, a South Korean drama, obviously, called The Doctors, starring Park Shin-hye. Now, so she had a very high IQ, but then she wasn't really doing well in class. That was because she was what do I call it? I don't want to. Yeah. Anyway, so she wasn't doing well because she wasn't really studying or putting her books first. So when she was determined to do something, when she was determined and she started studying, it was natural for her to do well because she had a very high IQ in the first place. I think it was 140 or 150. I mean, in the drama. So she passed. Even her friend was helping her study, and then it became a whole. You can go watch the drama. It's called Doctors. So yes, however, some critics began to realize that high intelligence was no guarantee for success in life. Yes, the fact that you are intelligent doesn't mean you'll be successful in life. No. It was also perhaps too narrow a concept to fully encompass the wide range of human abilities and knowledge. Of course, your intelligence is not a determinant of your life. Bye is the key. IQ is still recognized as an important element. Obviously, yes, you still need to be intelligent. You still need to study. You still need to observe, because it's through your intelligence, it's through your studying, it's through everything you grow your emotional intelligence. Anyway, researchers have found that individuals with strong leadership potential also tend to be more emotionally intelligent. Okay, suggesting that a high EQ is an important quality for business leaders and management. Yes, why do I agree to this statement? Because if you are leading a large group of people, or if you are leading people, and then you want to be a very good leader, you have to understand them, you have to be able to communicate with them, and then accept the feedback that is given to you. Now here we go, communication. But then if you are not able to communicate well with them, if you are not able to be on the same level and understand the people, your followers or whoever it is, then what is the whole thing? If you are intelligent and then you go stand on a podium and then you're like, what word can I even use? You use like an ambiguous words, and then you use all those things, and then you're not able to communicate with the people, then the thing is lost in translation. But then if you're able to understand them emotionally on a personal level, know what they want, and speak to them and for them to understand you, then you're good to go. Like I said, you need both. You need to be intelligent enough to be able to have a very good IQ, grow up on your IQ, whichever way it is. So emotional abilities can also influence the choices that consumers make when confronted with buying decision. Hey, Adi, this is like an examination question I see. Anyway, so a question was asked: can emotional intelligence be learned? If emotional intelligence is important, can it be taught or not? According to one meta-analysis that looked at the results of social and emotional learning programs, the answer to this question is unequivocal yes. The study found that approximately 50% of kids enrolled in SEL programs had better achievement score, and almost 40% showed improved grade point average. Okay, so it means it can't be learned. These programs were also linked to lower suspension rates. Oh, increased school attendance and reduced disciplinary problems. Interesting. Did I ever get this program in school? Because I was never suspended. I don't remember going through any disciplinary thing. I never learned EQ. I learned it from my parents, family, environment. Anyway, life success is a result of many factors, and IQ is not the determinant. But a combination of both IQ and then EQ plays like a role in overall success, as well as wealth, health, happiness. So rather than focusing on one and building up on one, like I want to have a very higher EQ as compared to my IQ. If you're an average person like me, when it comes to IQ, like every normal person within your age group, and then you'd be like, you want to build, no. So it's saying that rather than focusing on which factor that has a dominant influence, the greatest benefits may lie in learning to improve on skills in multiple areas. So you can try to improve on the skills you have, maybe in your business, in your finances, in whatever it is, rather than trying to focus on growing your emotional intelligence, because both your emotional intelligence and your Emotional intelligence, EQ, IQ, intelligence, intelligence quotient, as they are both important for should I call it for the success or for your success in life. So you shouldn't let, oh, because I have a low IQ, I'm not gonna do well in life. Nah. Because I have a very high IQ, I'm gonna do, nah. That is not a determinant of life. There are so many factors that determines how well not well you do in life, and both the IQ and EQ are important, but then they are not the main go-to factors that determines it. So we had a question: what is the relationship between IQ and then EQ? The relationship between IQ and EQ is that they are both intelligence. They are both the measuring of your intelligence, where the measuring of your IQ is the mind, the quantitative, the fixed measurement, and then the EQ is your emotions, the range, how you're able to maintain it. So they are both a measuring thing, but then one is like quantitative and one is qualitative. That is how I'm taking it. That is how I'm taking it. So can EQ be measured as compared to IQ? Yes, EQ can be measured as compared to IQ, but unlike IQ, which is like a stagnant water and pipe. Yes, EQ can move. Today your EQ can be 85, tomorrow your EQ can be 95, depending on your social cues, social emotions, and how you relate the world around you. So yes, that is basically IQ and then EQ we discussed today. What am I taking home? Mulai, or I'm just taking home that there is a balance between IQ and EQ, and then you're supposed to have both at the same time. You're not supposed to focus on one and then leave the other, thinking that one is more important than the other. We've come to an end of the very first segment of this show. The very second segment is where you ask me questions about basically everything and nothing. What do you want to be? So I'm going through the next questions we got for today. What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, like an echo in the forest, I don't know. As life goes on, what I want to be keeps on changing. It's not one phase deposit. It's more like wherever life takes me, I shall go. I shall go. I shall go. I'm going. I don't have anything that I want to be this. I want to be that. Yeah, I had so many. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a lecturer. I wanted to be so many things. I wanted to be an anchor. I'm doing that now. Am I an anchor? I'm a radio host. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to be a lot of things. So, but for now, wherever life takes me, I will go. I'm going. So what's a hobby? I think we answered this. Oh, if you had, wait, I think we've answered some of the questions you asked. Wait, let me check this question. What is the one thing you would really like to own? What is the one thing I would really like to own? Okay, let me go stepwise. I would like to own like a very a studio, but not a very like a home studio, but it wouldn't look like a home studio. It looks like like a radio studio or a television studio, but then like it's a home studio. I don't know if you get what I mean. So it has all the gadgets and everything, a microphone, whatever it is for broadcasting. You know, that is one thing I would like to own. What one possession do you cherish the most? What do I cherish? Maybe my flute or my guitar. Are those the things I cherish the most? Well, I'm not sure. That is what came to mind. And then, what is the craziest thing you've ever done? I always do crazy things almost everything, like every day. So I just don't even know what is the craziest thing I've done. I'm always crazy, being crazy almost every now and then. So I don't know the craziest thing I've ever done. Anyway, we're wrapping up for today's episode, and thank you very much for tuning in for today's episode. This was your host ACK for TMAI. Tell me about it, where we talk about basically everything and nothing. For today, we talked about IQ, and I got to answer some of your questions you were curious about. So you've got it, IQ and EQ. You need to have a balance. There has to be a balance. There has to be like an in between thing. One shouldn't, you know. So yeah, we've come to an end of today's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. This was ACK. Yes, basically. Annyeong. Bye. Adios. Bye.